If you have IT band issues, either at the knee or the hip, this video is for you, especially if you mountain bike. So what we're going to go over in this video is kind of why and how the IT band can get tight, what kind of affects it, and what you can do on and off the bike to help you feel better with both your knee and also your hip. I'm Dr. Physical Therapy and Liz, and I'm owner of the Ride Life. Let's get into some anatomy. Now, the IT band is a very tight, non-contractile tissue in your body, aka it's not a muscle. It doesn't work on its own, and so the tried and true method of I'm going to foam roll my IT band to help it feel better isn't always your biggest bang for the buck. It can help whenever you do foam roll your IT band because you're actually hitting your quadricep muscle that's underneath of it. And the quad can play a role into your IT band because it can be super tight because it's working more. Now, when it comes to the IT band, we look at kind of what actually attaches to it. What contractile muscle thing can make it more tight? One of the main muscles that connects to it is called our tensor fascia lata. Try saying that 10 times fast, 5 times fast. This TFL, tensor fascia lata, is on the side, kind of side front of your hip. It plays a huge role into if your IT band is tight or not. And so keep that in mind that it's a muscle that mainly attaches there. Another muscle that attaches to our IT band is our glute max. And that pulls around and can attach to the outside of your IT band. And so note that it's another component of it. Now, looking down at the knee, there's nothing that is contractile muscle-wise that connects to it. This is kind of what we want to pull on and why muscles attach to your IT band to help give your body, your knee, some stability. But if it's doing too much and having to pull too much, then it's kind of like, think about like a crane or like a structure that has guard wires that come out from it, and one of those being so tight and the other part's not doing as much. It might fail. You might have issues with that one tight band. Same thing goes for your body, is that we don't want your IT band pulling and having to do the predominant amount of stability for your knee and your hip. We don't want it to do its part. And that's where it comes into on your bike. It can play a huge role into whether your knee hurts afterwards or whether your hip hurts afterwards, whether you have hip flexor issues, so many different things. All of these kind of play together and are regionally interdependent, but dependent upon each other. And so this comes into play of what we do to actually fix it. How do we make it better? One of the things that we can look at first is on our bike. Usually it's our rear foot, the back foot, whenever we're doing downhill, that might have some issues with this because of the position that we're in when we're riding downhill. The knee is more bent, we're more bent at our hip, and so that knee is going to have more stability and control in it. The front foot usually has more of like a squat-like or deadlift-like position. The knee's not quite as bent as much, and so it doesn't have as much kind of pull on it. You're in a typically better position as a whole, and you can kind of float back and forth between your pressure on one foot, both feet, and as you're going downhill. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, if you are gripping your saddle with your legs, if you are letting your rear knee kind of slip inward a little bit, that's where you start to have a little bit more of these issues, is because you're not actually controlling your knee and the position of it via your hip as well. Because when it comes to the position of your knee, it's not exactly a knee thing, it's a hip thing. And so the position of your knee is actually hip rotating inward or hip rotating outward. And this is why our IT band can come and play such a huge role in it. Your TFL will try to help you control the knee using this smaller muscle, and it can make that muscle have to work harder than what it needs to. It will be tonically tight and overworked. What we need is some help from our glutes and some help from our quads. These guys help play a role into, one, the quads control your knee bend. Are you bending your knee more? Are you bending your knee less? Can you maintain that position? Your glutes and your adductors, your groin muscles, they're the one that controls whether your knee is more in, whether your knee is more out. Again, it's a hip movement, hip internal rotation, hip external rotation. These play a role into whether or not your knee feels supported and what muscles you might be using. If you're not using your glutes as well, then your TFL will help because your body will get the job done. You're going to get your butt down that hill, and you're going to do it because you're thinking about so many other different things. Hell, this is part of the reason why we ride bikes, is because it makes us think about what's going on. We ride the trail, we are looking ahead, we do all these things, and we're in the moment, which is wonderful. But it can also make us where we don't use our body quite as good as we want it to use it, and where we feel different pains during or after the ride. And part of that is because we need to pay a little bit more attention to what actually muscles we're working, which, plug, is why I have a workout program for riding to help with you understanding these different body mechanics, movements, and strength off the bike to help you on the bike. Check out the link in the description below for more information about that, my Ride Life membership. Now, for our TFL, as you've kind of interpreted, if your glutes don't work, your TFL takes over, which then your IT band becomes tight, can pull on your knee, and can do funky different things. So what do we need to do to fix it? Well, one, we need to decrease how tight our TFL is. So massaging, rolling on a tennis ball, a foam roller are great things to help you to really target that TFL. As you see here, I'm rolling around on the tennis ball, and again, it's not the strict side of my hip, it's side but front. And so if you feel on the top of your crest of your hip, you feel kind of your hip bone that sticks out on the side. It is right just below the crest of your hip, kind of in between those two, just a little bit forward towards the front part of your hip. You can lay on the tennis ball, or you can lay across a foam roller, or also a towel if you have that. All of these you'll hang out for like 1 to 3 minutes. It's what I call battleship, where you are seeking your knots that you have in that muscle and you are destroying them. You are working to find those knots, and you hold pressure on them 30 seconds, find another one 30 seconds, find another one 30 seconds. That's why I say 1 to 3 minutes, because if you have a lot going on in that muscle, you may spend more time in it. Now, the other thing that we do to help your IT band is work on your glutes. There are some great glute exercises, how to activate your glutes. I have some videos that are up here. I'm going to be putting them up on this screen so you can click on those. And one of the biggest things with getting our glutes to work with any exercise and or riding is getting your core to work. Because if we don't have our core working for us, then we can't get our glutes to work for us. We actually will probably start to use a little bit of our back. And so if you have IT band issues and back issues, know that those kind of play in together. If you have back tightness, doesn't have to be back pain, but just like a soreness after you ride potentially, then those two are interdependent. You fix your low back pain, you fix your IT band issues, because both of them require core and glutes to work and fire for you. We need you to understand your hip hinge. So along with our glutes working and core working, your hip hinge is key. If you are squatting too much whenever you're riding and not actually bringing your chest down towards your bars and kind of raising your butt up a little bit, that will help get that knee out of that position where you have to maintain that stability for a longer period of time. This isn't meaning that you can't go down and up in that position, but having a little bit more comfortable rest position is important, because then you offload some of the muscles and give them time to rest. So, in conclusion, for some of your IT band issues, one, now that you know the anatomy, we need to roll out our TFL, not necessarily our actual IT band. Again, if you want to roll out some of your outside part of your thigh, you're going to get your quad, which is a good thing as well. But I wouldn't do it because you're really trying to get your IT band with that. You're just going to cause yourself a lot of pain because it can really hurt. Then you want to get your glutes working. Add in some more glute-specific exercises, making sure that you are doing it correctly as you're doing the exercises and feeling your glutes actually working. This comes from your ability to use your core and making sure that that kicks on and goes when you are using your glutes. This ties in to your ability to hip hinge on the bike and maintain a better body position as you're riding downhill, making sure that you can bend and straighten your knees a little bit. We don't want to go all the way straight with them, but we want to make sure our butt's a little bit more in the air and our chest is a little bit more down towards our bars. This will help us to also feel more balanced on the bike and to not just tighten up everything as we're riding downhill. I hope this helped you with understanding how you can help your IT band and how you can really make that better for you and to change around your story when it comes to your knee and hip and back issues. If you like this video, hit subscribe and comment below if you have any questions. I read them and I answer back. Cheers, y'all.